were we taught to buy houses by the banks? Is this something they cooked up like 100 years ago?
Yes. Who do you think has the incentive to get you to buy it? The National Association of Realtors, one of the most powerful lobbying groups ever. They want you to buy it, so they create propaganda saying real estate only goes up. Oh, when it goes up, it's good, and when it goes down, it's a great buying opportunity. So it's always good? Is that what you're telling me? No, it makes no sense. Then you have the government, which actually encourages people through things like formerly tax deductions, etc. They want people to buy houses. Okay, so there's that. And then of course there's social. There's our friends who say, oh, you still rent? Or wow, you bought this? That social approval that comes from our friends and parents is so insidious, so powerful.
I used to have someone in New York City that I bought a house and I'm like, no, you bought 10% of a house. The other 90% is a loan to the bank and you're paying interest on that. But for them, it was that thing and it made them feel good. And maybe that was part of the rich life. But again, it's this ingrained plan. Maybe the comparison, maybe this isn't fair, but if you ever look at the mythology behind a diamond ring for a wedding and like the whole diamond mines and De Beers and a diamond lasts forever, they've convinced you that's the only way to show your love. And you have this rock with no secondary market. And you start wondering, why am I doing this? Yeah. It's like buying a house is something similar.
That's very powerful what you just offhandedly said, with no secondary market. So for everyone watching, it's important to know people buy a diamond ring and there's a lot of marketing behind it. I actually wrote a massive piece on how to buy an engagement ring and what I went through. And one of the things that people use to convince themselves of this emotional purchase is, well, if we ever need to sell it, we can. And what they don't realize is there's effectively no resale value at all. You can buy a ring, it could be $3,000, it could be $50,000. You go to sell it the next day, it's effectively worthless. Maybe 10, 15% of what you paid. So we use that in the back of our logical head to say, well, I'm doing it for a good reason. And that's the way we work. We need to acknowledge that. Don't deny that we buy the things we want. And in that article, I said, look, if you want to buy a ring, and if your partner really wants it, do it. In fact, go extravagant on it if you want to. But run the numbers and get educated about the facts. Don't let this little logical voice trick you into thinking this is a financial decision. It's not. And so for housing, it might turn out to be good for your friend, but it would probably be better if they were just honest and said, this makes me feel good, it makes me feel safe, it makes me feel accomplished. That would be more honest if they had run the numbers.
Now, when the housing market's going up and all your friends are talking about how they're flipping houses, and I remember when I was in New York City around 2000 or something, the market was jacked up, and when you got to dinner, all everybody would talk about was their goddamn housing prices, and you'd be like, Jesus, stop, enough. But like you said, I mean, these things go up and down. And when people say, oh, I'm gonna redo my kitchen, oh, the price of the house goes up. No, it doesn't. I've never paid for anything. I call the landlord when there's a problem and they fix it. And then when I want to move one neighborhood in London and get the hell out, and I do that often, then I go and I go and I go. So I know I'm paying for liquidity.
Yes.
And I just make that conscious decision. But
there's so much in what you just said that we could spend hours unpacking. But for everyone, I just want to point out a couple things. Number one, you do it for liquidity, which means if you want flexibility in your lifestyle, you want to be able to potentially pack up and move to a different neighborhood, city, state, or even country, that renting allows you to do that. And the other thing is this kitchen thing. Most people, again, they think that if they redo the floors or the kitchen or the bathroom, that they're going to make that back. And if you showed them the numbers, saying you might spend $30,000 redoing this floor or kitchen, and you will get $0 of that back. Do you still want to do it? First of all, they would say, that's not true. I saw on HGTV that bathrooms always pay. You show them the actual facts. Okay, it's not true. And suddenly, now at least you're informed. Now you can say, you know what? Is it worth $30,000 for me to have this wood on this floor? If so, awesome. You should do it. But part of living a rich life is being honest with what am I spending on and why.